Hello all, Stacy the Black Feather Intuitive. Welcome to another segment of Black Feather Crimes. Around here, we're all about curiosity, clarity, and courage, understanding ourselves, each other, and the beautifully messy mystery of being human. And today, that curiosity takes us into the unfortunate and tragic death of Nolan Wells. But we're not just asking what happened. We're looking at the choices, behaviors, and unanswered questions that might help us understand what's really going on beneath the surface. So, for those of you who are not familiar with this case, it's been going on for a couple of weeks now. Nolan Wells was an 18-year-old college football player in Mississippi who never returned from a 4th of July outing. Friends whose accounts, there's a lot of discrepancy around what the friends' accounts are, and these friends' accounts are being closely scrutinized to try and understand and piece together what happened. There are a lot of questions about why he was allegedly left behind. And I'm just going to say to you right now, there's a lot of angst and unanswered questions and a lot of suspect stuff going on because this is Mississippi. And Nolan Wells was a beautiful Black man who was the only Black man on the event, surrounded by rich, privileged white men. And he was the only one who didn't show up. So as a result, the family is seeking transparency and an independent investigation into what's going on. Fair enough. And there are concerns from the family about whether every lead is being fully pursued. Again, I point out that Nolan Wells and all of this has occurred in Mississippi, and Mississippi does not have a very strong track record when it comes to the issue of race and disappearances and unexplained deaths when it comes to that being perpetrated on Black individuals. So Nolan Wells' body was found at Horn Lake on July 10th. So they didn't find him until significantly much later after the 4th of July celebration. And there is a rapidly growing online community trying to distinguish facts from rumors. But we have news for everyone today because they have just, sorry, they've just released results of the secondary independent autopsy. The issue is there are still several unanswered questions after this secondary autopsy. So let's tune into our guides and see what insight the guides have on these unanswered questions. So the first question that we are exploring here, what are the circumstances of how he entered the water? And I've got my tarot deck here that I'm going to just use as a tool, but I'm also going to be tuning in with my spidey senses. And I would like to just say here as well, I like to put out a trigger alert, a trigger warning for anyone who is watching this type of content who is sensitive in any way, shape, or form to explicit details and things of that nature. So, I will let you know if I start to receive something that is a bit graphic in nature so that you can, sort of hit the pause button or skip through to the next topic. So what are the circumstances of how he entered the water? So just as a spidey sense tapping in, I'm really feeling like there was a bit of a tussle, a scuffle. I feel that there was maybe a fight. I wouldn't call it horseplay. I feel that there was a legitimate argument. There were heated voices. I do see Nolan I feel like he was on a boat. And I feel that there was injury to his face. So someone punched him, he punched someone. There was some manner of an argument, a physical tussle. And I feel that he actually went overboard. Let's see what the cards have to say. Knight of Swords. So there is definitely an argument, definitely heated circumstances, people fighting. The Knight of Swords is a card of, often they call it the card of the mercenary. The idea that there's someone here that cares about the fight, doesn't really care about the cause, is just in it for the fight because they want to fight. So, this is like a person that you can hire. I'm not saying that anyone was hired to cause Nolan Wells' issue, just describing a little bit of the energy of the card. But the reason that this is coming up, I feel, is that it's the card's way of acknowledging that there was tension. There were fights, there were fighting words, a lot of conflict around what's going on. So, again, this is a psychic reading. I could be right, I could be wrong. Take what works for you and leave the rest behind. But I do feel that there was disagreement, there was a physical altercation, and I feel that Nolan Wells went into the water. Now, I do know from I haven't really paid much attention to this case at all. In fact, my producer is the one who, sort of creates the questions for me and that type of thing so that I can be as pure as possible. But I do remember from a brief report that I read that he is a strong swimmer. So it is kind of disconcerting that what I'm witnessing in my mind's eye is that he went overboard and that he kind of went face down in the water and that he wasn't brought out of the water. So I do feel some weirdness around that. Was there water in the airway? I'm feeling yes, that there was water in the airway. I do feel that there's a component of Nolan's death that involves water, drowning in that capacity. And again, I feel like however he was punched or knocked out, maybe he hit his head, maybe there was just, he was unconscious, knocked unconscious for a particular window of time. And because he landed in the water face down, I feel that caused him, whenever he was, sort of coming up for air, that he was taking in water. Let's see what the cards have to say. Eight of Wands. So Eight of Wands is a card of swift release. And when we talk about water energy, this is actually a fire card. I feel like basically what's happening here is I feel like he was in the water for an extended period of time, that he floated for an extended period of time. And that's why there was water in the airway. I don't necessarily see that someone physically held him under the water. I don't see this as being an intentional drowning from that perspective. But I do feel that there was conflict. And when he was kind of punched out, he went into the water. And I don't know exactly why somebody would just walk away and leave him there, other than to say heated emotions, poor judgment. Maybe it was like, I punched him out, I put him in the water, and I'm getting away from him. He can figure his shit out. And not realizing that he was knocked unconscious, that he was not able to gather his bearings, and that he took water into his lungs. Is there any evidence of injuries to the interior neck structures they did not receive regarding the neck? I hope I'm reading that question right. Again, I'm not seeing that there was strangulation or him being pushed underwater, pushed underground. I do see something being wrapped around his neck, but not by someone. This feels a little bit like, when you're in the water for an extended period of time, seaweed kind of washes up and things of that nature. So I feel like something was gathered around his neck, but I'm not feeling at all that there was, pressure being put on the neck. Anything going on neck related. I feel that if there were any injuries to his neck, that would have happened. What would they call that? Post-mortem. Let's see the card. Wow, it's a lot of wands today. So 5 of Wands. This is definitely about disagreement. A disagreement that was coming through. The 5 of Wands also indicates that it was more than just one person involved in this. So not just one individual, this is a number of individuals who are aware of what has transpired, who know the ins and outs of what transpired. This isn't specific to the neck, but I am feeling that there are at least two individuals of the group who know exactly what transpired in regards to that. Any evidence of the inner cranium he could not observe because of decomposition. What I'm feeling here is that there has been some decomposition, but not enough to wipe away pertinent evidence or pertinent information. But I keep getting like a brain swell or a brain bleed. This is really interesting because I'm not seeing that an object, like a blunt object or anything, was used to knock Nolan Wells out. I feel like this was fisticuffs. This was coming to blows. This was pushing and shoving and fighting and just physical. But it's quite possible that he hit his head on the way down into the water. And I'm seeing a bit of a brain bleed or distortion in the brain. And it's quite possible that it's not decomposition that's covering over evidence. It feels more like that, gets in there and gets a little messy and covers up other pertinent information that the examiner, the medical examiner, could use. So yeah, I'm not feeling that there was an issue with decomp. Okay, let's see what the cards have to say. So with this King of Pentacles energy, when we're talking about this observance, I feel like, this is health and wealth. This is the material world, the material items. Definitely feeling that there was something that's been obscured because of a brain bleed or brain swelling that has distorted some information, but it's not about decomposition. It's about the injury that was inflicted. And I'm seeing that really clearly. What was the condition of the stomach contents? Seeing some alcohol sloshing around his stomach. Seeing a lot of like undigested. Feels like he may have eaten something, maybe even just an hour before this incident happened. So I feel that there's a lot of undigested food. Feeling also that the contents of his stomach are not really going to provide a lot of helpful information. I would say at this point, it's more, excuse me, Fuzz, thank you. I would say it helps with timeline, but it doesn't necessarily help with what actually happened to him. But it can help with timeline. But I feel like they can establish that with what they've been given. All right. And what were the toxicology findings? Well, I don't need tarot for that. So let me just. Again, I'm seeing a lot of alcohol, maybe like a contact high, a little bit of a weed contact high in his body. I don't see any hardcore drugs. I don't feel that this is something where someone has put something in his food or put something in his drink to, to incapacitate him. I feel like the toxicology report is going to come back and there may be some some questions, I'm seeing like there are 6 things listed on the toxicology report, and one of them feels like it's coming back inconclusive, but the other 6 are pretty clear about what is in his system. The one that feels unclear, I just keep hearing the word dilution. So it feels like this is something that may commonly happen as a result of a body being in the water for an extended period of time, kind of like the blood gets diluted, or, because of, so trigger alert, when a body is in the water for that length of time, the body can start to bloat. Certain gases start to activate within the body, and it distends the body, and it can affect the internal workings of the body. So I'm seeing that there is one discrepancy, an undetermined piece on the toxicology report, but I feel like just because it's undetermined, I'm not feeling that it would indicate any kind of foul play. It feels more like what the body naturally does when when it's subjected to this type of environment for an extended period of time. Okay, so that is it right now for today's Black Feather Crimes episode of Nolan Wells. There's so much information that is going out about this particular case, and I intend to stay on it. I feel that it's so important for us to be highlighting this case for a number of reasons. And I would love to have some peace for the family. I would love for answers to come out. And, if there are any law enforcement agencies that are listening to this and you feel that there's something that I've said that stands out to you, I'm always open to working with you on that further. And we will be doing, sort of another, maybe a part 2 or a part 3, just keeping up on what is going on with the case of Nolan Wells and his family. As always, I do this to help and to bring closure to the family of this horrific and tragic crime. So let's all hug each other, hug ourselves. It's really important that we stay present and focused, because now is all we have. And remember, curiosity gets us in the door. Clarity helps us understand what we're seeing, and courage is what we do with what we've learned. Until I see you for another episode of Black Feather Crimes, sending lots of love and support. We'll see you on the flip side, and transform well.